Happy Wednesday. We are live, Chaz. How's it going?
What is up, entrepreneurs? You're tuned in to the Non-Corporate Network. You are watching Entreprenews. It's a collision between CNBC and ESPN where we discuss the top 6 small business headlines. Dustin and I will give our takes, 3 minutes per subject. I'll defeat him. I'll make quick work of him, and then we'll move on to the rest of our day. How's that sound, Dustin?
Yeah, it all sounds good except for you getting those wins. We all know that typically doesn't happen, but I tip my cap to you thinking that, and I'll let you, kind of think that. So
you got a new look today without the hat, man.
Yeah, I know. I don't like it. Game day. Got a proposal today to go over and in person, so can't be all broed out.
I wouldn't like being on camera with me and my luscious locks and you with you got a little bit shorter of hair than I do. You can't flip it around the same type of way. I think it's gonna just help me to give the people what they want this morning.
What's that?
I said it's just gonna help me to get those wins this morning. People are the people want this. They want the hair. They want the flow. They want Chaz Vandemotter to take the cake today.
Highly doubt that, but like I said, keep dreaming.
Well, thank you guys for being with us. We are excited to get right into this. We ready to kick this thing off? You want to just get right into it?
Yeah, let's just dive right in.
Let's do it. Okay, so could there be an Amazon competitor? Can you guys even fathom an Amazon competitor coming out of the woodwork that we haven't heard of before? Well, prepare, because you might see that. The South Korean e-commerce giant Coupang has come out and done amazing in their market and are looking to expand into other international markets. Dustin, this is impressive. 95% of people in South Korea have a smartphone, and they are delivering at an efficiency rate of 99.3% of orders from the smartphones directly to people's houses within 1 day. Last time I checked, Amazon, it's got 2 days shipping. So do you think that this is possible to be an Amazon competitor? And if not, or if so, how do we come up with a competitor for Amazon?
Yeah, Coupang. What a name. I like it. But I don't think they're going to be a competitor. I mean, to enter the U.S. space, that's a huge feat in and of itself. But I mean, Amazon is doing a ton in terms of. They have 2-hour delivery now. That's expanding on the items that you can get within that 2-hour delivery. I mean, we've talked about it before. They're buying millions of drones. They're going to have drones in the air. They just bought an autonomous car company. So they'll have driverless cars out there delivering. They're doing everything they can to expedite the shipping just so that, I can get my little Betty Crocker oven, a few hours earlier. Just so much more happy whenever that happens. But no, I think they got a huge hill to climb if they're going to try and compete. I'm all for the competition. That's always good for the consumer. I just don't know if this is the company to do it. But I mean, what are your thoughts? Do you think they have a chance to compete and enter the U.S. space?
Well, I think the e-commerce, the way the e-commerce industry looks in South Korea, I believe, is some foreshadowing of what we can expect in the United States and really in the world in terms of how it's run. 80% of residents live in very condensed populous cities. Like I mentioned, 95% of people have smartphones that they're using actively. They have internet. They have the ability to get things delivered to them very quickly. And so I think that if Coupang is really serious about this, the places that they need to start warehousing are in these concentrated cities where they can kind of attempt to pull off the same thing they've pulled off in their own market. But again, I think there's just a lot of foreshadowing of what's to come in terms of e-commerce and convenience as it relates to this type of technology.
Yeah, I mean, what's interesting is you mentioned 95% of people have a smartphone. I mean, I would think it would be higher. I mean, I drive around and, see some homeless people with smartphones and everything like that. So, I mean, it's crazy in the U.S. It seems like maybe 110% of people have smartphones. I mean, our kids have 2 now. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah. But, just the trend of e-commerce is obviously growing. I think the U.S. might be a little behind on China and South Korea and other countries. But, with everything going on, it's going to greatly expedite that adoption.
Touche. Diving into the next story here, minimum wage hikes in 3 states in 21 localities to aid low paid workers who were slammed by COVID. This story was first released by USA Today. They said that Illinois, Nevada, and Oregon are all set to raise their pay floors as part of a large increase that they're being phased in over several years, according to the National Employment Project, a worker advocacy group. So, yeah, what do you think about raising the minimum wage? I mean, it's going significantly increases of up to $1 to $2 off minimum wage in those 3 states.
Yeah, let's hit the small businesses even harder. Let's make it, more expensive to bring on more help. Let's increase the inflation rate. I mean, yeah, it's all great. No, it's not good. I think there's other ways to. I mean, it sounds like what they're trying to do is increase minimum wage so that it's more attractive than collecting unemployment. I mean, if that's the end goal, there's a lot of different ways that the governments can approach this to where you don't have to raise minimum wage. I mean, I think it could create more of a wealth gap between the lower and middle class, where it's like company A has 3 employees. By doing this, he can now only employ 1.5 or
Yeah.
1 full-time and a part-time person. So it's like overall, the people that actually have jobs will have a bit more money, but you're also going to have a huge wave of layoffs because companies just can't afford it. And so, you're going to increase costs, which then gets past the consumer, which now it just costs more to buy things. And so I think there's other ways to approach it. But I mean, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that the alternative is you give them some kind of stimulus for hiring people, but again, that's only going to cover X amount of their wage, and over the long term, it doesn't really incentivize them to keep workers on as much as just hire a few more during this crazy time. If they are seeing an increased demand and they need more delivery drivers, whatever it may be. So I don't think that it's a sustainable system that's being created in terms of incentivizing people to go back to work. And it's hard because what are you going to say? Pull the plug on unemployment or drop unemployment number of what is being compensated there just to incentivize people to go back. I mean, 47 million people have filed for unemployment. I don't think that's the best way to go about it either. But I mean, I hear you that small businesses may be getting hit harder with this. And so maybe that incentive to bring people back to work can be spread out over the course of 12 months to where they're not really taking on an additional cost.
Yeah, and I mean, this whole thing about let's get back to work, unemployment and all that. I mean, let's find the root of what's causing all this. I mean, there's a ton of high tech jobs or high jobs that pay really well that people just don't have the knowledge for. So maybe curb some of that unemployment to education and get people into trade schools and educate and figure out a fast track to knowledge.
Blame it on the colleges. I like it.
Nah,
Blame
there's
it
a
on the colleges.
fast track to knowledge. I didn't say college because that doing something that you can gain the knowledge in maybe 6 to 12 months and then you go on and work. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to do it, but I think
we need to decentralize education a little bit is what I hear you saying. I can get behind that. I think that having such a high barrier to entry with tuition and getting into school, it reduces the amount of people that have access to learning new skills that are relevant in today's society. And I think that that's a big problem that needs to be changed.
Yep. That's a whole other topic. It's when you got 90% of people don't even do what it is they get their degree in and they come out 80 grand in debt. It needs to revamp, but that's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, don't get me started. We'll be here until midnight talking about it. Next story, the Dow notches their best quarter since 1987, quarter 2 of 2020. A rebound that was helped by low interest rates and government stimulus amid COVID-19. This story seems kind of backwards to me, Dustin. I mean, according to analyst T. Rowe Price, he says the rebound sparked concerns that the markets have come unmoored from economic reality. There remains significant uncertainty about the pandemic, which will likely lead to continued market volatility as business and consumers adapt to further disruptions in the global economy. In that story, it's followed up by saying the Dow Jones posted its strongest quarter since 1987, surging almost 18% between Q1 to Q2. This is a red flag to me. I mean, we're not supposed to be bouncing up and down. This isn't supposed to be what the Dow Jones looks like on the graph. So what are your thoughts here? Is this sustainable? And how have we hit record numbers amid a global pandemic and race riots and everything else that's happening?
Yeah, I mean, it had a huge fall off in Q1. I mean, with the coronavirus coming out, and so I mean, it's just a matter of numbers. When you have a huge decline, it's easy to have that huge increase as well. I mean, overall, I think we're back to a little bit stronger than what we were before the decline. But I mean, I think a lot of it is just held up with stimulus, unemployment. I mean, people are still spending money. That being said, we're coming up on the heels of the PPP dollars running out, extended unemployment, not being extended, and the what you actually get from it going down. So I think there's going to be a lot less spending that goes on. So I think the increase might be held up because of stimulus. That being said, this morning on the news, I was watching, and job numbers are much stronger than expected. Construction spending on new construction was supposed to drop by 1%, and it's actually up 2%, I believe. So I mean, in terms of getting people back to work, new construction, which creates jobs and all that, I mean, it's coming back, whether it's done because of stimulus or it's the economy actually coming back. I mean, only time will tell. Once we get past this little finish line of when all the stimulus kind of runs out, we'll see if it's sustainable. But at the end of the day, I mean, we went down and we came back up, which that's what caused such a great.
Well, you say we, and I say the top 100 companies in America, not we. We is 37% of small businesses being taken out of the picture and out of business. 47 million people filing for unemployment. That's not we to me. That's 100 companies, and that is not representative of us as a country. And so when we continue to permutate these headlines through, oh, we're doing amazing, it's like, no, we're not. You know how the coronavirus just shut half of the businesses in Arizona back down. This is not like there's still people protesting in the streets every day about inequality and the systems that are broken. I don't know how we can hang our hat on the Dow Jones doing well and act like that's going to, be representative of us as a country.
Yeah, well, I think just one of those things that we'll just have to keep doing the best we can, and only time will tell. I mean, unfortunately, just one of those things.
Yep, I hear you.
So on to the next one. So this company called SpeedPro, they've released a service to where they can help restaurants get their menu touchless. So essentially what it is they're helping companies get a QR code and it links to their menu. It helps with just contactless menus. It helps with pollution and all that. I don't know. My thoughts are it's not that hard to create a QR code. So there isn't a ton of value being brought to the table. At the end of the day, you can go online, generate a QR code, put a URL, boom, you have it. I mean, to me, I don't know if this is such a sustainable business, but that leads me to kind of ask this question. Are we going to see a ton of businesses pop up that seem like they're bringing a ton of value when really it just, might take a minute or two for what they're actually doing? I mean, what are your thoughts on the service?
Yeah, I mean, businesses are done with their frivolous spending. I think that this last quarter kind of taught everybody a lesson on what is needed and what isn't, whether it's office space, whether it's chips in the break room, or whether it's, novelty softwares like this that can be replaced by a free tool and done in 5 seconds. I mean, it's not a defensible business model. Sorry to break it to you, SpeedPro. I know 10 different free QR code generators. I could make a QR code in the next 2 minutes. So I don't think that that's really a defensible thing. I think it almost runs like an agency. I mean, they've got to be signing big deals with big franchised restaurants, because I think that the harder part of this is maintaining brand with the design of the QR code, making sure that you're sending them to a specific page that is a mobile friendly version of the website, and printing those stickers to put on the tables, I think, is the biggest pain in the ass of all of it. So, I mean, if you can be an agency that has proficiencies in those things, I just can't imagine they're making much money, because how much are you going to really pay for a sticker and a free QR code to be generated?
Yeah. If their entire model is just generating the QR code and making that, capable, I don't think it's going to last that long. I think, to your point, if it's part of an overall offering that they have where, hey, we'll help you redesign your menu, make it more mobile friendly, could even order, from your mobile phone. I mean, Granted, waiters and waitresses might not like that idea, but I mean, that's already kind of happening. I know Chili's, they have some where you can just order and pay all from a
Yeah.
little hub on the table. But I do appreciate that they're trying to start a business and do, bring value to companies. It'd be interesting to see how long it'll last. Like I said, I think there's more opportunity in helping restaurants rethink their business model and how they can create a better customer journey. The QR code and contactless menus are just a small piece of that overall offering, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, well said. Well said.
Yeah, on to the next story. So 67% of companies, they basically believe or expect working from home to be a long-term or even a permanent thing. This comes as people have been working from home more. They're seeing the efficiencies in, productivity. They don't have to buy as much office supplies. Don't have to buy as many chips for the break room. Not only that, I mean, they're just seeing, oh, wow, we don't need to rent this huge building. And on top of that, our biggest worry was that we weren't going to be able to get projects done, stay on top of our employees. But there's been a huge learning in terms of project management tools and how you can stay on top of that. So now that we've had, the roller coaster of the very beginning get past us, companies are realizing that, this is a sustainable model. My question is, what is this going to do to the commercial real estate industry? Is this good for employees' mental health and physical health? I mean, there's so many different things that this could impact. But I mean, do you think it's a good thing that this many businesses are looking for remote work to be a long-term or permanent solution?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing is there's definitely a threat here that we're kind of hitting this point of, okay, like I got to make sure that I'm wearing makeup and I'm wearing nice clothes on the Zoom meeting. To then it's like, well, I'll just wear a t-shirt. Well, this time I'm not even gonna wear pants. It's like I think that the more that we get comfortable, the more that is gonna be let slide that we're gonna let slide as business owners in terms of, this remote work. So my initial feeling here is that there could easily be a slide in productivity as people become more comfortable in what they're doing. And but I think with that being said, we've seen a lot of success with our kind of asynchronous and virtual setup. So I think that it's definitely feasible. From a commercial real estate standpoint, I think it's interesting too, because I mean, we saw a lot of malls that started being transitioned into like co-working spaces or real estate or office space. And now we're phasing that out. It's like, what's going to happen to all these malls or places like that? I was just telling you earlier, like, maybe I'll just like pay the rent to live in the Louis Vuitton store and just like throw a bed in there. But like, it's interesting to see what is happening in that space. But yeah, overall, I mean, 67% is huge. You can't ignore that. And, we got to give the people what they want. That's where you're going to get the most productivity out of them. So even if they're getting comfortable, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's I don't care what you wear on a Zoom meeting as long as we're having a productive conversation. I mean, be naked in that chair if you want. As long as we're having a good, productive conversation, your camera isn't on, then we're good. I think the fear of losing productivity and things slipping through the cracks, I think that's where a good project management tool comes in, and you can see how productive people are being. You get insight into what they're working on, how many projects they're completing, how many hours, and all that type of stuff. So it's businesses have a funny thing is when they start seeing profitability and revenue fall, it's like, okay, where is this coming from? And you'll be able to identify those people who are falling. And it's just looking at different KPIs and different activities and just readjusting how you operate a business.
Yeah, no, I think it'd be interesting to see if they started like allowing employees to do like mileage on their devices if they're using their own devices. I think that it's convenient to them, and maybe you can get a stipend the same way you're putting mileage on your car for things like that. I think those are the types of things that are going to be strings that businesses can pull to kind of keep people motivated, keep people excited. And that's what you got to do once we start hitting the wall of productivity.
Yep. No, I agree. And going on to our last story. So this is here, a local one. Mountainside Fitness CEO brought up a lawsuit against Governor Doug Ducey. We're going back into lockdown come Monday. Bars, restaurants, gyms, health clubs, and tubing are going to be prohibited. It's crazy. I've never been within 6 to 10 feet of anyone while tubing, so I don't know where that comes in. But his whole defense is, look, if we're just trying to stop this whole thing, why not shut everything down? we got grocery stores that people are packed. You got point of sale systems everyone's touching. I think, his stance is, why not do this to everyone? You're really impacting my business and my livelihood. And he's taken a stance and just said, I'm not shutting down. I think you're going to have to come and force me to shut down. So is this good for, should more businesses follow suit? Should Ducey wake up and maybe look at laws? I mean, there's so many different ways to go. I think it's tough because you want safety for, the population, but you also want, businesses to not shutter. So, I mean, what are your thoughts?
It's the Wild West, baby. Good for them. I think that my argument is gonna continue to be, let's stop trying to infringe on people's rights to freedom and to do what they want to do. You put a mask on people, make them wear it. And, flattening the curve is different from finding a cure. We're not going to find a cure tomorrow. This is going to be a long, drawn out process. And the more that we kind of fearmonger people into their homes, the harder it's going to be to get back to work, the harder it's going to be to recover some of these small businesses, the harder it's going to be to get the economy rolling again. And so I think that, I'm with Mountainside, and I think that, you should be able to make your own decisions. It's sad that a couple of bad apples and these business owners that were not being responsible is the cause of this kind of second wind of outbreak, because it's not as much that they were open, it's just that they weren't following the policies in the first place. And so I think that's a bigger issue.
I mean, these couple bad apples seem to create some polarizing standpoints and stuff like that. But no, I agree. I think, it's tough. It's like someone has built a business for 20 years or whatever, and you're going to basically have to shut down because of this. And, I don't want to get too deep into it because it is so, polarizing. But at the end of the day, it's I think people are looking at the wrong metrics and numbers. Sure, cases are going up, but death rate and all that is going down. So it's like, we're just having more cases because there's more testing being done. So, I mean, I think everyone's just looking at the wrong numbers, and it's tough that when that's done, decisions are made that can really impact people's lives and their entire family tree, essentially. We have so many generational businesses and stuff, but it's tough. I mean,
if you're at risk and you're worried about this, don't go outside.
That's my whole thing. My dad, he, very high risk, and that's basically what he's doing. Staying in.
Why do you want to shut the businesses down as opposed to you staying inside? That's what gets me. It's just like, if you're not somebody, and be responsible. I mean, and that's why we've got the rules. That's why we got the masks on. I saw a stat that if both people are wearing masks, there's like a 98% chance that you will not transmit the disease to somebody. Mm-hmm. So I don't understand why that 2% is so scary that we have to shut down half the businesses for a second time now. There's no more triple P. There's no more printing another $2 trillion to distribute so we can all close down and redo quarantine. Like, it's frustrating to me. Obviously, I'm passionate about this. Another thing I'm passionate about is Avantage. Avantage.com. They help these small businesses that are struggling to get back in the game. Check them out. Sign up for a free account. You get $150 worth of trade credits that you can use today. You could use these trade credits today. Go get a bookkeeper. Go get some legal advice. Go get somebody to clean your business so that there's no more germs on the tables. Whatever it is you need. But they're still at work. We're still at work, and we know you guys out there are still at work. So we just appreciate you standing with us and hustling. But Dustin, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, go check out Advantage. I mean, everyone has a little bit of extra time right now, excess capacity. So trade some of that time with someone else that has a little extra time. But no, appreciate you guys tuning in. Chaz, my favorite story was, the contactless menu thing. I think the reason why I like it so much is I think there's going to be a lot of businesses that pop up that seem like they're bringing a lot of value, but might not be. And so it's up to business owners to really think through, is this some good value? But I mean, what was kind of your favorite?
There's been a sliding scale of how long this remote work thing is going on and how many businesses are bought into it. It started at very micro levels, and then it's kind of risen now to seeing 67% of businesses are thinking that this is going to be through the end of the year into next year, maybe permanently. And so I think that that tells a lot about where we're going as a society, where business is going. So if you're an investor, you're an entrepreneur, capitalize on the trends, think a couple years down the road and where we're going to be if this continues.
Yep.
Well, again, thank you guys for tuning in. Again, this is a non-corporate network, news made by entrepreneurs for entrepreneurs. If you want to start a show yourself, check out ncnbroadcast.com. We want to hear about what you want to start, and we want to help you bring it to life and throw it on the NCN channel. So yeah, reach out to us. And if you have any stories you want us to debate, send them over. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We appreciate you taking a second. We'll see you again Friday morning, a couple more stories. But with that, my name is Chaz Vandemotter.
Dustin Trout.
And thank you guys for being with us. We'll see you again soon. Get to hustling.
See you Friday.